Hey there traders, welcome back for episode number 140 from the StockBandit.tv. I'm sure glad you could join me. Hope you've had a great weekend and that you're getting ready for a brand new week of trading. That opening bell is going to ring on Monday and you and I have got to be prepared or else somebody else is going to get in our wallet and I don't want that. So let's take a look at the indices here. We're going to eyeball some key levels to keep a close eye on in the days ahead. And things are really shaping up for the bulls in recent weeks. 2 weeks ago we created this higher low. And then, of course, last week we went ahead and took out a higher high. And so we've now created this short-term uptrend, okay? Or, rising channel or whatever you want to call it. But for now, the lows have been established on July 1st. And we've seen a pretty steady recovery taking place since then. To see this dip right here get bought and lead to higher highs is really encouraging. Well, last week, you might have seen my tweet on Twitter on Tuesday morning, right ahead of the opening bell. We were set to gap up, and I pointed out that was really going to likely be an invitation for some profit taking. Not necessarily an all-out reversal, but some profit taking. And that's really what we saw. Tuesday, we finished lower on the session. We did the same on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday, we marked a new pullback low compared to Tuesday's highs, and then we finished slightly positive for the NASDAQ and S&P and Russell. So not a big upside reversal, but we saw the buyers stepping in. Now, let me zoom in even further and point out another thing here. Tuesday's reversal, we finished well off the session lows. That's encouraging. We didn't finish on the lows of the day, so there really wasn't a ton of heavy selling pressure kicking in. On Wednesday, we saw the same thing. We finished off the lows of the session. So, anytime we see a bar with the close right at the low, it really suggests that the sellers ran out of time before they ran out of inventory. And that really wasn't the case here on Tuesday or Wednesday or on Thursday. Thursday, we did finish lower, but we finished really in the middle of the day's range. We saw some heavy volume along with that, and that really pointed to a lot of churning. We had a lot of back and forth on Thursday. And then, of course, on Friday, we stabilized and started to turn higher here. So there is certainly a possibility here that we've, of course, not only carved out the first higher low, which has been confirmed with a higher high, but there's a possibility that we're now creating a second higher low. And that would be, kind of in keeping with this rising trend line here. That was tested on Friday. It was held on a closing basis, and that's incredibly encouraging. So for the NASDAQ, we're going to be watching 2307, looking for a turn higher from here. That's last week's high, 2307. Then beyond that is the June high at 2341. For the S&P 500, very similar situation. This rising trend line here was tested on Friday. It held, saw a finish in the green just slightly, only a couple ticks here. We're only up a fraction of a point. That's really not the point here, though. We were down pretty good on the day and finished positive. So once again, closing levels don't really tell the whole story. But at this point, we've rallied higher and we've seen this minor pullback here. Things are still holding up very well. We've held this 1100 area a couple days now, and things could turn higher from here. So I'll be watching last week's high in the S&P, 1120, then the June high, 1131. Those are the next two levels to watch on the way up. For the Russell, we've seen a higher low established, we've seen a higher high established, and we've seen numerous tests here of this 670 area, including last week on Tuesday. We briefly punched through it, then gave it right back. So we need to see this Russell now begin to turn higher here and really move solidly through this 670 zone. That's a major level for this index. It's been testing it a number of times, and with this shallow pullback last week and this kind of stabilization, and I'm pointing to the fact that we've closed in about the same exact area the last three sessions. That really points to a pretty shallow pullback here and really just some good quality digestion from this rally off the July 19th and 20th lows. Okay. Finally, for the major indices, the Dow is really just kind of coiling here beneath this 10,600 area. That was just above the June high. We also got very, very close to that last week. We've held this rising trend line here. So again, we've got a possible higher low being established here. if things can turn higher. So if we do rally up and take out that 10.6 area, the Dow has confirmed another higher low by doing that in the days ahead. So keep a close eye on that. The VIX, really last week the market did pull back a little bit, but the VIX made no real progress. This thing is still hovering right here at this 23 area, and that's been key support and resistance, especially if you go back into April. That was some short-term resistance. Once it pushed through that level, it really screamed higher, but since then it's pulled back, and it's been testing this 23 zone a number of times, and we're still kind of hugging that area here. So I still think that helps confirm the bullish tone of the market out there. So thanks for joining me for this episode. I will be back soon with more videos, but in the meantime, trade like a bandit.